Hi, this is Cameron back again with another vinyl collection video. This is number 43. It's albums starting with the letter A, part 3. So I've got about 250 albums that start with the letter A, so I'm just going through them about 15 at a time. And as I've sort of warned people in previous videos about my albums starting with the letter A, I did make a foolish move about 4 years ago where I sold off a number of my best albums from the letter A. But anyways, I still have some decent albums to show you, and it really represents the eclectic mix I have of rock plus folk plus different ethnic music, some country, kind of classical. Anyways, you'll get a sense of really what my collection, my buying habits have been over the years. As I said, short a little bit of my usual rock collection. So let me get started. To start off, I have a band called Adviel que Pourra, new French folk music. So this is from Quebec. It's folk music from 1989 with a bit of a rock beat. They played at our folk fest back in the late 80s or early 90s. I remember enjoying them a lot. They played with all sorts of unusual older instruments, but made it a very lively concert. Then, I think I've told people before that during the 80s and 90s, I mostly collected 60s rock, plus a little bit of folk, and I wasn't collecting contemporary music very much. And I also, in the 80s and 90s, when I did buy some more popular bands, it tended to be recent issues rather than going back into the first editions. And I've subsequently gone back and bought these albums on CD. So a lot of my most, like the Beatles and Stones and Pink Floyd, I don't have very much on vinyl. It's mostly all on CD. Anyways, this is one of those bands that are popular. Aerosmith Rocks, 1976. In fact, I only do have this on vinyl. I don't have this on CD yet. This features a really popular song, "Back in the Saddle," which I really love. I really love that song. Next up, also from Aerosmith, they're both 80s reissues. I have Gems. So this is a greatest hits album with a mix of all sorts of cuts from 1973 to 1982. Okay. Next up, Canadian band from the 70s. This is one, I think their last album from 1977 with Hugh Leggett, "A Foot in Cold Water, Breaking Through." So he'd been part of Nucleus, which was a Canadian sort of psych rock band in the late 60s and early 70s. Then I have an album called Amandla, African National Congress Cultural Group. So these used to, this group of dancers and singers and musicians used to accompany the African National Congress during the times of apartheid, and really would try to raise the consciousness of South Africa population, and probably more so the exterior population, the people outside of South Africa, to rally behind the ANC and Nelson Mandela's cause, and basically the anti-apartheid cause. This came out in 1982. And that reminds us that the horrendous system of apartheid is not that long ago. I can remember helping boycott, whatever it meant, but boycott Shell because of their interests in South Africa. Lots of other local drives to raise consciousness within my city anyways. And I'm sure it was international. Okay, next up, Afro-Caribbean singers from Manitoba, 1975, Sun, Spirit, and Soul. So these are Trinidadian and Jamaican expatriates in Manitoba, my province, who were carrying on their traditions, their folk traditions here in Manitoba. That came out in 1975. Next up, a Colombian singer-songwriter, Rodolfo Laicardi, El Incomparable. These are, as I said, these are 1970s singer-songwriter songs. I don't remember if they're ballads or not. But anyways, they are. I recognize one of the songwriters, Henry Sandoval. But the other writers of the songs he didn't write are names that aren't familiar to me. Anyways, it's on La Guarachita label, which is La Guarachita was a famous record store in the Dominican Republic for several decades, and I bought some. I probably bought this there. Yeah, in the 90s, they were selling off their remaining records, vinyl stock, for about under $1 each, and singles were 10 cents. So, okay, Minnesota-based new wave band. This came out in 1985, A Few, and the album's called It's a Wonderful Life. And so this is a small label, Gark. Okay, next up from Norway, a new wave rock band, Aha. This one features Take On Me. It's called Hunting High and Low. It's their first album from 1985. And then their second album of Aha, it's called Scoundrel Days. This came out in 1986. This is an unusual album. This is more something that you'd find in a collection like Vinyl Richie or other collectors on in the vinyl community. I picked this up when one of the local import record stores was going out of business, and I just did blind buys because albums were cheap. This is called Afraid of Mice. It's their album, their only album, I believe, which came out in 1981. It's new wave and post-punk. And it's just blank on the back. Doesn't even say Afraid of Mice on the cover. The only way I know is from the insert. The Afraid of Mice Fan Mouse Club. So the label doesn't even have anything on it. It's just a white label. So they're post-punk new wave. If anybody out there knows more about them, I'd be interested in hearing about it. They do have a small entry on Wikipedia where I found out a little bit about them. Next up, a band from Guadeloupe in the Caribbean, Les Aiglons, which I believe means eagles, and the song is called, or the album is called Le Petit Chaperon Noir. This came out in 1977. It's a form of music called cadence, and supposedly this was the biggest hit out of that part of the world until some soukous music was popularized in the mid-80s. I bought this in Paris at the flea market, and I paid €1. They gave me 50 albums of Caribbean and French African music for €1 a piece. So you might find these albums over in Quebec, but they certainly don't circulate in English Canada. Next up, a rock band, I believe from the U.S. I could be wrong on that, but they're a rock funk band, 1974. Aim, this is on Blue Thumb label, Aim for the Highest. I have a second copy of that. Then I have a interesting independent release from a band out of Vancouver, a rock band called Airborne, Songs to a City, or Songs for a City, 1977. And it'd be interesting to see if Fat City Vinyl knows a little bit more about them. Their big song, if they had any kind of a big song, it was their single, was Marie. And then finally another band called Airborne, this time from 1979. They're an AOR band, so sort of an arena rock band and wannabe arena rock band. I believe out of the U.S., almost certain of that. And supposedly their members later on went on to be join up with Journey, Night Ranger, and other AOR, bigger AOR bands. So this is called Airborne from 1979. And the album is just called Airborne. Yeah. So that's it for this third installment of my albums starting with the letter A. Hope you like it. I know it's a bit diverse for some people's tastes. I will probably go back and do some thematic episodes as well, but for now I want to carry on with doing everything alphabetically. It gives you a sense of really what my collection looks like and what my buying habits have been over the last 30 years. Please leave your comments at the bottom and please subscribe. Look forward to hearing from you. Bye-bye.